All right, guys. So let me know in the Discord chat if you can read this. All right. So, anyways, I guess you want to start here. This is the example mod. You can extract this here. This works. But you want to make sure that you move this example mod over to your mods folder, this folder. So this is in Documents, My Games, Stationeers, and Mods. So your mod folder needs to go here. So I can paste this right there. This is our example mod. There, it comes with its own About file. Hang on, let me close out these other files first. Don't want to confuse you. So this is the example mod. And you could just set your own information description here, your own name. This is what eventually gets uploaded to Steam. So let's call this anything you want. My example test mod. Okay, and yeah, so this is what we're going to have for now. Go ahead and save that. So back over here, my example mod. Game data, this folder right here. This is where you want to edit your start conditions. This is where you want to put your world settings file to. I'm going to go ahead and delete this tool manufacturer because we're not going to get into that at this moment. Here we have a custom start conditions, which this comes with your game. Again, if you don't remember where I got this from, it is in where does it go? Where is this? It's in Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Stationeers, Rocket Station Data, Streaming Apps, and you'll find the example mod zip file right here. All right, and of course you extract that and you move it over to the or copy it over to, where did I have this? You copy over to documents, my games, Stationeers, mods. All right, so let's go ahead and edit some start conditions. And you can run this in Notepad++. You could also directly edit this with Notepad if you don't have anything. And it looks very ugly, as you can see. So you'd want a program that can edit XMLs. So maybe an XML editor. So whichever works best for you. And so this is how they come. Now we can go ahead and change this to anything. Well, actually, let's go ahead and create our own. Let's go ahead and duplicate an existing world. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, I don't have Notepad++. So I installed XML copy editor. It's open source, so if you don't have Notepad++, you can just use XML copy editor. Or if you can find a free version of Notepad++, that's up to you. Now anyway, so let's go ahead and actually start making things. All right. The first thing you want to do is we want to duplicate an existing world. This is just my general strategy. I duplicate a world and then I convert it into a custom mod world, or excuse me, a custom world mod. And that is found in data. Here's all the core files, worldsettings.xml. And what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just copy it over. So I have my world settings. No, this is not what I want to do. Edit with CRUD. Open with there we go. So here we have all the core files, and let's say we want to create our own custom version of the moon. All right, so I'm going to delete everything else and leave just the moon here. We got to find the end of the moon. All right, here we go. Oh wait, I've passed it up. Let's just do this. Find Mars. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and delete everything down, and we want to stop right here. Everything fits between everything fits inside of, excuse me, world settings data, or excuse me, world settings. Yeah, world settings. Yeah, there we go. And so here's our, let's call this my custom world. All right. Now we also want to change the description. New world, my custom world short description. Or actually, it can also just be my custom world short description. This part does not matter yet. I did change the moon to creative temporarily. So right now all we have here is just a copy of the moon. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and run it. So here we are in Stationeers. We will see that the let's see, I don't see it. Let's go ahead and exit to desktop for now. I believe we might have to... Oh, I see what's going on here. So as you can see that we're in the wrong folder still. This is not good. So we want to move these out. So Control X and then Control V. Okay, hang on. Let me, I need to close these down. Something has this open right now. All right. So it's very important that everything has the correct structure in terms of its the directory. So you have my game, Stationeers, mods, example mod. And we can actually change the name of this thing to something else. So let's say, let's call this my custom world mod. All right, it doesn't matter what you name this folder, but immediately in this folder, you have to have your about folder and your game data. All right. And so then in the game data, you have your start conditions, your world settings. And in about, you have, of course, your About.xml. Now it should appear in the course. So let's, or excuse me, in the workshop. So let's go back into the game. All right, now let's go back to our workshop mod, and here we have our my test example mod. And I'm going to go ahead and move that above core. I'm actually going to disable everything else here to make things easier for all of us. So if my example test mod, and now it should appear in the new games menu. And we have a problem here because it's not being displayed correctly. So we need to fix the name of our custom world. And this is the part that does not come with the game. This part I have to show you as it was shown to me. So let's go back to our mod. And what we're missing is a language file. All right, so I'm going to copy an existing language file here, or actually let's do it this way. All right, so I'm about to show you, this is the part that you kind of have to copy an example of. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this example. Let's go into, where was my mod? My custom world mod. So I think it's in game data. We need a language folder. And then we need our English in this case. Let me close these out real quick. So you need to have this information at the top, and then this is the these are the language files, right? This is the language file, and this needs to match our custom world information. So let's go into our world settings. We have this my custom world, right? So we go back to our language file here. We're going to put my custom world here. We can make this color, let's actually make it more like teal or something. So 00FFFF. All right. So let's call this is my custom world. There we go. And then in the world settings, we have my custom world short description. Put that right here. Can get anything here. So let's go ahead and save that. Please take note of the format of the file. You'll notice the top here is pretty much the same. So whatever you have here for the header of the world settings, I guess you could copy that right over to the language file, but make sure you have also this information as well. So these are the two important parts. And now let's go back into the game. You can move this up and down one slot, and that should update the mod. Or excuse me, it should update the game. It's still not appearing. So that's probably because I have a duplicate definition. So let's go ahead and save that. Say exit and play again. Sorry, I'm not really good at speaking, as you can tell. I'm not like, I don't practice public speech. I'm just a gamer. Let's go look at something else real quick. So game data, yeah, should be in language. Ah, yeah, that's what's missing. I misspelled something. This is supposed to be new world area, my custom world. All right. So this has to match this. Now it should work. There we go. This is my custom world. All right, so this is a duplicate of the moon. And we are on a custom world that is a duplicate of the moon. And currently the moon does not have a custom world settings defined for it. And so we have to tell it what custom start conditions. We have to tell it what start conditions to use. Otherwise it uses default. So let's go ahead and tell it. Let's load our start conditions. And let's try combat. Let's try giving this guy combat, right? So what we need to put here is another line that is, I think it's starting conditions combat. If you don't know what tags to use, you can always open the original. Go to world settings. So it's starting condition, not conditions. Alright, so I made this starting condition is combat. So that should be reflected in the mod. I mean, it should be reflected when we reload the mod. So new game, here we go. We should get different gear now. And yes, I have a gun, some combat supplies. So as we can see, the custom start conditions are properly loaded. So the next thing you want to try doing is actually go through the format of changing the starting condition. Let's say we want to give ourselves a rover. So what do we need to do to give ourselves a rover? First off, we want to make sure our game mode is creative, or you can go into you can load the asteroid belt if you want, which is creative, or in your new mod that you're creating, you could change your game mode from survival to creative. So while we're here, let's say we want to start with a rover. So rover, and we want it to be the MKI rover. So here it is, rover MKI, and that's a capital I, not an L. So let's go here and let's go down to initial spawn, dynamic things. Anything that does not start in a person is going to be a dynamic things data. We want to put in the prefab name is going to be rover MK capital I. And that's a lowercase k. And so that should spawn. Actually, that should come with some, that should spawn in the game. Let's also add some contents. Let's give it a, let's see, inventory data. Let's give this a crate. So let's find out what, let's get the MK2 crate. So crate MK2, which is actually MKII. MKII. And as you can see, I'm doing things wrong already. Make sure this is in prefab name, or prefab name. Looks like I have an error here. It doesn't like what I've done. Okay, I see what's wrong. There we go. So let's leave this game. Null reference. It doesn't like what I've done. I've made a boo-boo here somewhere. Let's comment this out temporarily until we fix the issue. Okay, so now I need to Alt F4 because the game was stuck. So to comment, it's this left arrow, exclamation, dash dash, and then to close it, it's dash dash right arrow. Well, it looks like I got the rover spawned in here correctly. I just need to figure out. Yeah, oh yeah, I see it. Null reference again. Ooh. Oh God. So you can see what happens if you have anything misspelled, it doesn't properly load. You get null reference. Okay, and so this here is slot 0. If let's say we want to move this crate to the other side, that's going to have to be slot 1. So let's add a slot. Slot ID 1, and that will move the crate over to a different slot. You could also set a custom color. Color red. Actually, let's make this color black. And we could also give it a custom name. Custom name, my custom name. All right. It's still on the left side. But at least we got the name changed and the color changed. Maybe it's slot. Oh, I know why. Because the rover has battery slots. So one of these slots, I'm gonna think that some of these slots are slot 0, slot 1, 2, 3, 4. So who knows which slot the crate is in. So I guess we're not gonna mess with that today. So forget the slot ID. You'll notice that my gun is appearing in my right hand. Let's say we want our gun to appear in our left hand. So that's when we want to change the slot ID. So weapon energy rifle, here we have slot ID 1. That is our right hand. And slot ID 0 in this case is going to be our left hand. I think this is the last thing I'm going to show as far as starting conditions go. Well, actually, maybe one more thing I need to show is stack sizes. And then we can move on to custom Mineables. Or rather, Mineable overrides. So as you can see, the gun started in our left hand. Now let's say we wanted to give ourselves a water bottle. So let's add an item. What is this? All right. Inventory data, prefab name, item water bottle, I think it's called. Item water bottle. Alright, so let's give myself a water bottle. Let's say my water bottle, we want only 50%, so I'm going to do a stack size of 50. Oh, and I do need a slot ID. Let's put this into our right hand. You can see that we have our oxygen canister here is in slot 0 of our EVA suit. The empty canister is in slot 1 of our EVA suit. Or EVA suit, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. So everything has a slot ID that just tells you which slot number the item goes in. So let's see if this actually works. If we can get a half filled water bottle. If this doesn't work, it's because the developers changed something. No, they changed something. So I remember that the water bottle used to show up as empty if you do not give it a stack size. So it looks like they fixed that. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to custom Mineables. So you'll let's say we want to specifically change the Mineables for our custom world here. The way I do it is I look at the example of another world. Let's say let's go to Vulcan. Vulcan 2. We want to find the Mineable override, right? So here it is. Vulcan and Venus, I believe they both come with a Mineable override, a Mineables override. And this is the data you want to change. Mineables override. There's also a trader frequency override, which I'm not sure if it works. But let's go ahead and add that to our custom world. And let's say we want to make everything very abundant. So we can go to world ore density. Let's multiply everything by 10 compared to our normal density. But let's say we also want to, as you can see here, there's no ice, so we need to add in ice. Let's give it let's say we want to give it the default values. That would be where's the Mineable data? So we have Mineables. So here's the default information. So if you want to match up your custom rarities with the default, you just match up the numbers, copy paste if you will. Now one thing to note here, that rarity does not mean more rare. Rarity means more common. So if I put, let's say I put ice to a rarity of 200. All right, so then we should get a lot of ice everywhere. So let's go ahead and reload our mod. And we should be seeing a lot of ice everywhere. And as you can see, there is crap tons of ice compared to other materials. Do I have a mining belt? Alright. So I have a mining belt, and let's say we look at this gold, right? And we notice that we only get like 2 units to 3 units of gold. Let's say we want to increase that, then what we would do is we would change the drop quantity, I believe. Let's go down to gold. Here it says 2 to 4. So let's say we make this like 20 to 40 instead. So at this point, we should be getting more gold from mining. So as you see, we're getting a much higher number of gold. In this case, we got 32. So now you know how to create your own custom start conditions for a custom world with custom attribute modding. You need to explain to me what you mean by attribute modding, because like you, I learn. I'm a learner. So let's say we want to have, we want Geysers or Geysers or whatever. So let's take the I'm not sure what you mean by changing stats on existing items. Is this something that's like done in incidents. Because right now, I mean, I'm only dealing with some basic start conditions and mineable modding. Two zips in. Oh, attribute. I do not. Oh, prefab. Yeah, I think attribute modding is going to have to wait for another tutorial. That I think that seems a little more advanced than this. Anyways, I wanted to mention that for the making Geysers work, you just want to change these numbers from a z to anything other than a 0. Yeah, I think we can do attribute modding later, because I have yet to learn about attribute modding. That is new to me. Yeah, attribute modding is new to me. I have yet to learn it. So if I figure it out, I will probably make a separate tutorial for that. But let's see here. Yeah, so like I said, I'm unfamiliar with attribute modding. So Geysers or Geysers, however they're pronounced, they produce hydrogen gas, I believe, at 20 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so for this attribute mod file, which is a prefab file, what if you want to include this? What you would do is, let me first extract this. I can't extract it. Let me you would put that in game data. So if you do any attribute modding, it's going to be the prefab settings file, and that's just going to you're going to place that in game data. I think maybe in the near future I can also do a tutorial on incidents, which are a little bit more advanced than what we're doing today. Anyways, let's move on. So I modified the Geyser data here. We're going to see if this loads in the game. So we can see we have some geysers that are forming, or that have spawned in. And we can see that it produces hydrogen gas, a small amount of hydrogen gas at 20 degrees Celsius. So I think the last thing I want to show is, at least the less important thing, is publishing. We can publish this to the workshop, to the Steam workshop. So just click on it and publish. It's pretty simple. So now I can go to Steam, go to workshop, click on my files, and you'll see that my example test mod just appeared. You can subscribe to it. And I need to restart Stationeers. If I understand geysers properly, they do not produce gas if you're too far away from them. And that got me really curious about one thing. I wonder if render distance, if you can change... No? I have a question for you, Inaki, if that's how you pronounce it. Does this work on structures too? Do you think this can be made to, if we can change the render distance on geysers, maybe it will always produce gas from far away? Just a thought. Anyhow, let's go to our workshop mod, and we can see after I subscribe to my own mod on Stationeers, we now have the workshop version. So we can play our workshop from our workshop here. So as we can see, it's on the list. One is my local mod and the other is from the workshop. Alright, so I'll show you what happens when you have both of them enabled. You'll probably get duplicate start gear. Or not. Or yeah, look, as you can see, I have 2 rovers. And this is what happens when you have 2 start conditions with the same name. They both get loaded. And so a fair warning, if you intend to change the default start equipment, and if you do that by creating your own custom start conditions, having the same name as default, you might get double. You'll get both of them. It might not actually overwrite the original. You'll just get an additional set of gear. I guess the last thing I want to show is emergency start equipment. So let's say that I don't want my suit to be the standard suit. I want it to be the emergency suit. So let's go ahead and open up our emergency start conditions. Respawn conditions is what they're called. Okay, so we have where is it? Emergency, or we can actually just do it this way. Forget that. Let's go back in here. All right. So as you can see here, the emergency gear are just the same as ordinary gear. So if instead of having an item Ava suit, it's an emergency suit. Emergency Eva suit. If I do that, then you can keep everything else the same, and what will then happen you can rename your starting condition to anything you want, but they have to be consistent between the XML files. So as you can see, my Eva suit is now an emergency suit, and I cannot see the contents. So the emergency items have the exact same functionality as standard items. It's just that you cannot access the content, and they decay. So it's really the only difference. Everything else is still the same. Now let's say if I want to change my starting condition to something else, we can make this, let's call this my custom start. And you probably want to change the string key also. Maybe you can call this my custom ready. I don't think this really matters what the string key is, as long as it's also reflected in the world settings. My custom start. Yeah, emergency tools don't work on everything. There are some construction and deconstruction functions that cannot be performed with emergency tools. So yes, as you can see, changing the name of the start equipment can be done, or excuse me, the name of the starting conditions. Obviously you cannot see the name of the start conditions in the game. Alright, is there anything else I need to cover? How about respawn conditions? Let's actually create respawn conditions. There's two approaches. We can actually add respawn conditions to the same start conditions file, but I do not recommend this if you're going to create a custom mod for a dedicated server. I've seen complaints where defining a respawn conditions inside of the start conditions is it's buggy. So it's something you only want to do for it's something you only want to do for what do you call it? Non-dedicated servers. Basically your own local play. Otherwise, if you do need to create a mod for dedicated servers, you would want to define your respawn conditions in its own start conditions. Basically its own separate file. And all you do really, actually, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that first. So let's say you want to create respawn conditions. All you do is really copy your start conditions, change the file name to respawn conditions, and then you're going to go up to the top here, change the starting conditions to respawn. Yeah, respawn conditions. And make sure the tag at the very bottom is also respawn conditions. Now, obviously there's no, you want to be careful. You don't want to have any initial spawn in your respawn conditions, because respawn does not have initial spawn. So you can go ahead and delete that section. Now let's say my respawn conditions, let's say I don't want a space pack, so no space pack. Let's delete the entire space pack. Player inventory, let's see, where are we? There we go. So no space pack for our respawn conditions. Now the respawn condition name here can be anything that you want, including the same name as your starting conditions, right? So they can share the same name and they will not conflict with each other. So right now here, the only difference here is the tag names. So let's go ahead and load that in. Go back to our workshop mod. Workshop XC. And now let's reload this. All right, so let's go to our settings, and we can see that my custom start here has appeared in the difficulty settings. That is the respawn conditions. And this is not, even though it has the same name as the starting conditions, it is a separate thing entirely. And it's free of conflict. So if I go ahead and take my helmet off and die, I can respawn with my with the respawn conditions that I created. Alright, so I respawned without my jetpack, and this tells me that my respawn conditions are working. So I hope you found that very helpful and educational. Good luck on your endeavors with making your own custom mods. If you want me to make any more tutorials on, let's say, very specific strategies or specific parameters in the world settings, we can do that as well. But this mod was just to test, or excuse me, just to demonstrate creating a custom world with custom start equipment and custom respawn with custom Mineables. So I guess that's it. Until next time. How do I stop this? End stream. All right. Good luck.